I got a call from the museum interested in starting a project called Spirit Lines. They had these collection of audio tapes as well as stories from our elders, and they started naming the people. You know, they had since passed on. We were very interested. We thought, wow, you know, especially when we knew what was there, we were just blown away by what was available to us that we didn't have knowledge, with no knowledge of that it was there before. So that's where we got involved, and we had you know, some of our educators, from teachers from our school, got involved as well, and some of the community elders, current elders that are there, were very interested, and they wanted to become involved as well in discussing in any, you know, whatever format that it took, and that's where it started from.
When I first started to work at the museum 5 years ago, I moved into my little office, and there was a binder of stories that had been recorded by a very famous Manitoba artist, Jackson Beardy. He worked for the museum for a whole year. He went up to Norway House and to Garden Hill, which was his home community, and he produced this volume of stories, and that was 1970, and they were still sitting on the shelf and doing nothing. And I thought, this is terrible. These stories need to get back to the community they came from. We had just the English translations at this point, and the process of getting them back into the local language was really important, because we transcribed the English, and then we worked with speakers from the community, mostly speakers who had some association with the person, to get it into Cree again. And then we transcribed edited the Cree, edited the English, mixed the whole thing with sound effects, so that, like, there's a tape where you can listen in English or in Cree to the same story, and then produce the transcripts in the book. So when you look at this book, it's not just a story, it's a transcript of an audio tape, so that you can sit and look and see what the words look like while you hear it, which is very important for learning language, and also for retaining fluency and keeping up the accent, you know, like to just really retain the vocabulary of these stories.
Within our community, I know I can say that it's making the history come alive. So I think other Canadians can certainly learn, like, again, how important that history was, and what contributions our people made into this country, into, you know, the survival of the trade, the people who were in the fur trade and the Europeans that came. I think that's a history, I think, that they could learn, and I'm very encouraged to see that a lot of our history is finally making it into the schools.
The success of this project is very important to me, because I think Canadians don't understand the importance of preserving and respecting Aboriginal languages. They don't really have any idea what is in them. And so this opportunity to really take the language seriously, that's the key thing for me, and it gives me strength to argue that Aboriginal languages ought to be in the museum seriously. And that the tapes that we have recorded over many years, because the museum's done a few projects like this, are important artifacts within the museum. The other thing is that I'm a total believer in the objects, the beaded objects, especially as teachers. And I think that allowing kids to see those objects from 100 years before and even touch them, you know, that's really important. And the impression you are left with, actually, and the elders mentioned this too, is that there was a moment in the history of Manitoba when Norway House really was the center of the world. And the people who lived there had the economic success and the time and the leisure to make absolutely beautiful art. And we don't think of that as pre-Confederation Canadian history. And well, as you say, we just don't talk about it enough.